Hi everyone, thanks for joining us so late in the afternoon. We're here today to talk about managing your returns effectively through eBay with ClearCycle. I'm Emma, I'm a senior category manager on eBay working on the furniture department. Just to note as well that we do welcome audience participation, so if you've got any questions at any point, just pop your hand up or feel free to come see us afterwards as well. I'm here with Dan today. Dan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Daniel Haig. I'm the commercial director from ClearCycle. The business was started 7 years ago by our CEO. He was a retailer who didn't like what happened to his returns. He looked at the returns and realised that he regularly got a low financial return. He had little or no brand protection because the goods were being sold by sellers he wasn't in control of, and he had no idea what happened to the stock, so any damage to the environment. So ClearCycle was born to try and solve those three large problems. He originally looked at the tech refurb market, but realised that was quite a crowded market, selling laptops and mobile phones. So looked around his house, literally, for another product with a high sale price and fell onto furniture. It's a problem category because about 11% of furniture that goes out comes back. So he knew it was a problem that needed solving. So then spent the next 3 years perfecting the art of selling returns, which is quite a challenge, accurately describing them and making sure you sell them at the right exit price. I met him on my travels. I was business development director at Arrow Excel then. So he spent a bit of time persuading me to join, and I joined 3 years ago. Since then, we've had a very successful time. We won the Financial Times. We got into the top 1,000 fastest growing companies in Europe. We brought on a lot of large brands. We have our own refurb centre in Chorley in Lancashire that employs 28 people with about 210 years experience in refurbishment. The way we work mechanically is we get the goods in, we grade or refurbish them. Grading is looking at, say, a chair that has a small scratch or dent where we may not repair it, we just reference it, down to full-on refurbishment, reupholstering, etc. And then we sell the items pretty much all through eBay now.
And you work quite heavily with different brands and retailers across the market. Can you tell me a little bit more about what brands you work with?
Yeah, so we work with the larger brands, so people like Oak Furnitureland, Cox & Cox, Swoon, now John Lewis, Heels. So those kind of brands that have a large supply of returns.
And why is eBay the platform to sell your returns?
eBay's the most dominant platform, really, with refurbished goods. It's the go-to place. What do we look? 26 million active users on eBay.
28 million.
28 million. So it's a very, very wide audience. We know the levers to pull to promote it, and the functionality of the site's really good because it allows us to take offers on goods, sometimes below the price, so we can sell the goods because we've got to sell the goods quickly. You know, our average intake to listing is 2.8 working days, and our average listing to sale is 13 calendar days. So it has to turn quickly, and eBay gives us all the tools to do that.
It's something that we're really aligned on, and hopefully you've all seen the Love Island Pre-Loved Fashion campaign. eBay are the pre-loved partner for fashion on eBay. And also, hopefully, you saw our Better Than You Black Friday campaign last year, where over Black Friday we only spoke about better than new items on site. So that could mean anything refurbished or anything that's been pre-loved or seconds or anything like that. We want stock to come onto eBay and have a second life rather than going into landfill.
And you've bought from ClearCycle yourself, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I moved into a flat last year, and I had in mind that I wanted to buy 4 pieces. So I wanted a sideboard for my living room, a matching TV unit, and 2 bedside tables. To get the stock that I wanted on eBay, I had to stalk ClearCycle every day to see what stock was available. Found the sideboard that I wanted, which was a really beautiful Swoon sideboard. Was lucky enough to find 2 matching bedside tables, but then I couldn't find the matching media unit for my TV on ClearCycle, so I actually went back to buy it from Swoon just because I wanted the matching set.
It's interesting that. So we get a fair bit of feedback where people buy stock from us but then have to go back to the retailer to buy the rest of the range. So we kind of reintroduce customers back to the retailer. So But when you look at the people that are buying refurbished goods, they kind of fall into four categories. You have the aspirational buyer, so they're the ones that want the goods but can't necessarily afford them at that time in life, so they're getting them at a keener price, so it's an entry level to the brand. You then have the person who likes to get a deal, someone who just wants to buy it at a better price because they enjoy the haggling, the barter. You have the immediate buyer, that's more around upholstery because we can supply it straight away as opposed to made to order, so we have the stock. And then more interestingly, the emerging is the green buyer. There's people now that will only buy refurbished or returned items or second-hand items because they're more environmentally aware and trying to cause less damage to the planet.
Yeah, I think I would put myself into two of those categories. One was definitely the value bargainer. I just bought a flat on my own, so I definitely wanted to bargain when I was getting my furniture pieces. But also for me, buying pre-loved or refurbished is way more important. My dress and my shoes were actually pre-loved from eBay as well. And I wanted the pieces in my home to tell that environmental story as well. It's an ever growing and important market.
It's very true. And a lot of brands, if you're not embracing that, then you're actually distancing yourself from a market that you'll never have access to. If people want only refurbished items, and some people do, you need to be able to give them that. And a lot of people see their returns as a bit of a dirty secret, whilst in fact you need to embrace it and love it and publicise it because there are people that are wanting those goods.
Yeah, absolutely. And sustainability is just becoming even more important, so brands absolutely need to be embracing this. Back to listing, what kind of information do you need in order to successfully list and then successfully sell on eBay as quickly as you do?
We need assistance from the brand. So we need images. So we want to use library images. We can take away lifestyle if that's what they want, to try and create a bit of distance between us and the original brand. But we use the library images and then we then intersperse them with any particular examples of photos we need, such as a damaged corner or a scratch. So with that, therefore, we're showing the people, this is the product, but you need to look at this because this is exactly what you're buying. We then take their description of the goods and we slightly change it just so that Google plagiarism doesn't come into play. And then we load their technical information into our spec, into our table, so that it comes out, weights, dimensions, etc. So the listing is a ClearCycle listing. It appears different, but we're still showing exactly what the product is. And use of logos, etc., are only done with the brand's consent. So the brand's very much in control of how we represent them. And if there's anything they want us to alter, a phone call and it's done, which is not the case if you're selling through auction house because the stock loses that identity and becomes whatever it wishes to be.
Yeah. And you have a really clear grading system on your listings, don't you, where everything is graded depending on if it's refurbished or if it's just been pre-loved or how do you find that helps the customer to buy?
Customers got to know exactly what they're buying. If the expectation's set, then the returns on those goods will be very low. So we take the image where we see appropriate. When you get a natural wood finish, sometimes a product, the library image shows it in a beautiful natural wood, and the one you actually get, there's a bit of a mix match, and that can lead to a return. So that's the kind of information we feed back to the retailer, but we also show the consumer that this is what you're getting, just so they know exactly this is the tabletop you're getting, so that they're aware. And I say it leads to a high feedback score. We're at 99.3%, so we're doing a fair bit right.
And just to vouch for that as well, as a customer, I knew exactly the very slight damage on the back of the sideboard that I'd bought, and I probably wouldn't have noticed it had I not knew that I was buying refurbished. Why don't retailers do it themselves? Why would they come to a partner like you?
It's very difficult for a retailer to sell new inventory and refurbished inventory side by side. There are some challenges around it. They need to be set up around capturing the image quality and selling that exact product. So that's a challenge. But also the agile pricing model that we have is really the secret sauce behind ClearCycle to make sure that we sell the goods. We start the goods at a higher price and are constantly moving price around to ensure that we achieve the sale rate. And many retailers just approach it with a hard RRP or give a 50% off, and the stock just doesn't clear. There's also challenges that if you buy stock from a retailer, your expectation levels are that bit higher, whilst we manage expectation down and then try and exceed those expectations. So that they can do it themselves, but it's that you have to work a lot harder for every sale in that category compared to new stock.
Do you ever see any trends where if you're getting regular stock from a particular retailer, do you ever see any trends where there's something might be consistently wrong with a product, and are you able to feed that back to the retailers? How does that work?
Yep, so because our engineers see the product that comes back, we're capturing an awful lot of data. We're a very data-led business. So we're looking at why things have come back. Is it a wood quality finish? Is it a weak weld? Is it a packaging issue? And we feed that information back to the retailer. Because if we can be the QC department of the retailer, we've got 28 people that are handling all the products that have gone wrong. So if we can then feed that back, and then they have the ability to influence the supply chain, they can hopefully start to either get evidence, we give them evidence-based information to get credits back from manufacturers, or they can change the process to hopefully stop the return happening in the first place.
And you've mentioned sustainability quite a lot. What are ClearCycle doing in that area?
We're a green business by definition because we're giving product a second life, so we are a recycler. But beyond that, we reuse the packaging for green and mean reasons. We wanted to reuse the packaging because that packaging was perfectly designed for that product. We just might need to patch it up a little bit. We very much monitor the amount of miles that goods undergo. So we use 2 main carriers, one of which is Parcel Force because they have the highest drop density, so the lowest carbon footprint per delivery. And then we're working with a company that's committed to electric vehicles in 2-man home delivery. So there's that area as well.
And how can you help brands and retailers with sustainability?
We're helping them access the circular economy. So by selling the goods, giving them a second life and making them last longer. And also, I say, by just feeding information back to them as far as the KPIs, how many products have been given a second life, how many miles the goods undergo, and trying to put as little as possible through landfill.
Yeah, I think it's so important as well to have that information and be able to share that with the different retailers and brands. And knowledge is power, isn't it? Do you ever get stock back from retailers that actually is pretty perfect or only minor damage? And what do you do with that? Do you sell that on eBay, or how does that work?
Regularly. So returns are good, bad and ugly. Some are in literally perfect condition. So with those, we still need to do a full grading process because we have to take it out of the box, understand what it is, are all components there, are all fixings there. But with certain retailers, we actually give that stock back to the retailers if it's in perfect condition for them to sell as new stock. And with certain retailers, we also give them the very, very highest grade for them to sell on their platform as a sustainable second product.
And then what are the pitfalls with what you're doing and what doesn't work, and how do you overcome those?
So the resonance of the brand really makes a difference. The quality of the piece, when you see a piece of furniture, you fall in love with the piece of furniture in the store. When you're searching online, you have to key in various criteria to bring it up, and it's a competitive category, right? So bookshelves, there's a lot of them. While Swoon bookshelves, there's fewer of them. So the brand makes a massive difference. The original RRP of the product also is important because we're refurbing items, that has a cost. We're delivering items, that has a cost. And we have to sell the items obviously less than the original RRP. So by discounting a discount retailer, the model's not very successful with items below about £150. And also, the better the retailer engages with us as far as catalogue information, that really helps us.
And then what about overstocks? Do you ever get those in business? Like, what happens with those?
Yeah, about a third of our business is overstock. So if you look at ClearCycle, we have a hard skill of refurbishment, and then a soft skill of rapid listing, and then the agile pricing model. Everyone focuses on the hard skill of refurbishment. That's what people talk about. That's what you've been to our refurb centre. That's what people see. But actually, the next 2 parts of the business are really what makes the whole engine tick. Rapid quality listing, being able to harvest the information, because sometimes we get one SKU once, and a retailer will spend hours talking about a SKU and its listing because they're going to sell 1,000 of them. We've only got one, so we need to make sure that the listing is accurate, a quality listing that's going to be eye-catching, but also done in a way that's very fast because we've only got so much money to invest in that. And then the agile pricing model, the moving the price around to help sell the goods.
Yeah, Do you find that's really important on eBay to make sure that you're constantly looking at the price to make sure it's agile?
All the time. I mean, and price sometimes it goes up. So if we're selling something and it sells too quick, the price goes up. So overstock's a really big part of the business. But then you need to look at overstock and say, why is it overstock? So if someone gives me end-of-line products because they only have 10 wardrobes left and they don't want to have it on their website because they've got a new one coming through, then I'm probably going to achieve quite a high price. But if you've got overstock because its day has gone, that's a different thing. I mean, I give a silly example, but those fidget spinners, those little gadgets, they were selling for £10 a pop. I remember annoyingly buying my son a bunch of them 6 years ago. You couldn't sell them for 50p now because that market is over. So overstock is overstock for a reason. And if the retailer finds it difficult to sell, I could as well. So, it's horses for courses and understanding why. And sometimes you end up with, back end of last year, I was getting approached with a phenomenal amount of garden furniture because the market was awash with it. Well, you can sell it, but if everyone's competing, then the price comes down and it's harder to sell. But yeah, like I say, about a third of what we do is overstock.
Yeah. What's next for ClearCycle?
I think we're going to go to that cafe and celebrate that. That sounds all right. So next for ClearCycle are two quite exciting projects we're on the edge of launching. One is a buyback scheme, so that retailers have the ability to turn around and offer to buy back product because people's lives change. You buy furniture and then you may see them as forever pieces, but you move house, your kids grow up, your tastes change, you upsize, downsize, whatever. So you no longer need necessarily that piece for life. And being able to offer to buy back that piece and then buy it back as a voucher so that you take that product but then regain the customer to sell them a new product again is something we're working with a couple of retailers on. And that's quite exciting because from a retailer, it starts to get brand loyalty because brand loyalty exists with banks, mobile phones, cars, but with furniture, we're all quite a fickle lot. We just buy what we buy and then move on to the next. So that enables the retailer to own the customer longer, and we simply take that product back, refurbish it, and sell it, which also helps them with legacy products. So, an onward supply of a bedside cabinet that they may have discontinued, we can still sell. So buyback is quite an exciting thing we're about to launch, and furniture rental is something we're going to move into, which is more around people who are working away from home for, say, an 8-10 month period, want to live in a flat, but want all their home comforts and their style. So sort of short-term furniture rental for products like that. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting because obviously fashion rental is so huge at the moment. It's like, why would you not also be able to rent your furniture for that situation? What are you most excited about for the future, for the next few years of ClearCycle and eBay?
Speed of change, really. I mean, we've grown a lot in a very, very short period. And we're always sort of trying to see what's next. Quite visionary. So there's an awful lot of data. So we're developing a piece of AI to run our pricing model, which I find fascinating. Don't truly understand it, but it's a smart piece, and so that we can start to look far more for trends and change our pricing around what happens. It's happened in hotels for a long time, and we're bringing that kind of dynamic pricing to retail.
And then I'm just excited about growing the Better Than You proposition on eBay. We obviously work really closely with ClearCycle to grow the brands, but for me, it's such an important area to make sure that we're tapping into, and we are the marketplace for it. There's no other marketplace that's set up to do it in the way that eBay can. Have you got anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Any questions from the audience? So just so everyone else, in case you couldn't hear, so that was, do brands show any resistance to coming onto eBay through ClearCycle?
Yes. Some brands are a bit snooty about eBay. It's seen too frequently as a second-hand marketplace. When 81% of your inventory is brand new. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the amount of every brand we brought on board on eBay has sold successfully. And I'm always amazed that more people don't see it as a good platform. I say 28 million people, it's a hell of a market to ignore. It really is. And I also, to me, eBay is very trusted. you need to provide a good service. You'll get delisted if your score's not very good. If your customer feedback's no good, you
Straight away, yeah.
you're delisted very quickly, and you can tell that. So, yeah, I'm always surprised, but yes, regularly people are a bit snooty about it.
And then you're able to turn people around to the success story.
Thus far. But yes, some people just say that they don't want their product on eBay. Occasionally we get people not wanting product on eBay because their biggest customer is an eBay seller and they don't want to compete with them. And that I entirely understand, because you need to protect your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else have any questions? So that was, if you're already selling on eBay, do you recommend a second store for returns? It's really up to you. I mean, you have just a store that's exclusively refurbished and returned, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've looked at running other stores, and we will be doing that for other people. So we can run people's own stores so that it appears as if they're trading with that retailer. So we can set it up as per their sort of their layout, etc. The advantage we have on running it on ClearCycle is our feedback and our reviews and sales. Because to move up the eBay listing, it's a dark art, and I'm sure you're not going to open that toolbox and let us know there. But essentially, you need high sales and high feedback, and our store has both. So already it does it. So setting up a store, it's a long game, because you need to accept that your sales are going to be slower to begin with, because you're going to be on page 7 of Google, sort of thing. So it's a quicker way to just go straight through our store.
It'd be worth coming to speak to us as well. Like if you do already have a store and you're looking to list returns or refurbish, it's worth coming to speak to us, and then we can have a look at your actual store. Anybody else? Thanks for listening.
Thank you.